All right, we're out on the lake. We are chasing walleyes. This video is not gonna have any editing, no cuts. This is just completely raw summer walleye fishing. Hopefully catch some fish. Definitely share some tips. I also have a special guest in the boat too. I'm sure she'll be appearing at some point, but for now she's off camera. But anyway, we're gonna fish. This is gonna be a good time, and this is just gonna be the real thing. I've been getting a lot of really good feedback on this format, just going out fishing, no editing. I think people really have a hunger for content that's just like 100% completely authentic. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. And I'm gonna turn around. I got live scope recording. I'll put that on the screen right now. I've also got maps, as long as that recording continues to work, which I'm not 100% sure on, but I think it'll probably work. We should have maps on the screen as well while we're fishing. So anyway, I got another camera up here up front, so you're not looking at my butt the whole time. And I just dropped on the lake here. I haven't been doing any scouting around or anything. There's a little bit of wind, which I think is a positive for the bite. And yeah, we're just gonna go look around. I did drive us up to a spot here. It's kind of like a good looking structure. And we're gonna see if there's any fish on it. Looks like there is one right there. I pulled this up right to the kind of the tip of this long finger. There's a little guy right there. I'm not feeling, I almost don't even want to catch him, because it's almost a bad sign if you catch a fish right away, isn't it? Oh my gosh, he's coming up at about 100. Oh, and he bit. Whoa! He just about tore the rod out of my hand. I was going to let him eat it for about a second, and then he just ripped it right out of my hand. It might not even be a walleye. Oh my gosh, he's fighting tough. This almost can't be a walleye. The way it came up so fast and just drilled it makes me think pike, but we'll see here. Didn't even have time to put my sunglasses back on. Ooh, wow, look at that guy. That's a smallmouth bass. I can't say I expected a smallmouth. A little bit harder to grab than I could have grabbed the net, but there we go. I guess we're starting this bad boy out with a smallmouth bass. I think I'll show the fish to this camera more often than not. But yeah, we got us a smallmouth. Not a walleye, decidedly not a walleye. But it's a start. First cast fish. I think if it was a walleye, we'd really be in trouble. That would just be too much good luck to start out the day. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know there were smallmouth on this lake. Right now I'm fishing a lake that's kind of, it's right here in central Minnesota. It's a stocked walleye lake. Pretty classic scenario for what most folks get to fish in the Midwest here. Some folks are lucky enough to have access to natural walleye fisheries, like, you know, Mille Lacs, Leech, Great Lakes stuff. But yeah, I mean, for most folks, it's clear natural bodies of water. At least here in central Minnesota, most of the walleye fisheries are, ooh, look who came to say hi. I'll lift her up here. Look at this pup right here. This is our little pup, Zelda, and this is the special guest. We got the pup right here. All right, so she's gonna be hanging out. This is actually her first time fishing with me, so we'll see how it goes. She'll probably want some attention. I got a water bowl for her set up. I probably got to refill, or I probably got to fill up here at some point. Actually, let's do that right now. We'll get the pup some water. Ready, pup? Here you go. All right. There, I'm being a responsible pet owner. Let's see what else is here. Maybe could be more bass, but this is such a classic walleye looking spot. That fish was right on the bottom, which we'll take note of. It's another something floating up right there. It doesn't look very big. One thing you'll notice throughout this process, hopefully you can learn something, especially, if you happen to invest in this technology, you'll kind of see that I don't throw at everything. I only want to throw at things that look like they would be the target species, or maybe a little bit bigger marks and not smaller marks. But also, if you're watching this and you don't have forward-facing sonar, I think you're going to be able to learn a lot. Just by watching and observing, seeing how these fish set up on these different spots. Looks like there's a little bit of bait up top there. I'll kind of try and talk through some of the stuff I'm seeing. It looks like I don't see any fish around the bait. One thing that's an interesting observation that I've kind of seen over recent years is you think, find the bait, find the fish. And I think that's generally true. But I'm oftentimes not finding that the fish are always relating to that bait. You might find more fish in an area where there is just generally more bait, but you won't always find that that the fish are always chasing it. So, kind of throwing crosswind here, but I saw a little mark right out in front of us there. Not a big mark, but we're gonna have to balance. We're gonna have to do a little bit of balancing of just boat control and also making good casts, but also showing on the screen the bait dropping and stuff like that. So if you see me cast at something and then pull the bait away, or pull the sonar beam away from it, that probably just means I'm trying to manage my boat control. So that fish is not really moving at all. So I'm going to try and put one directly on top of its head. And then if it doesn't do anything, we're going to move on. But to me, that does not look like a big mark. And the size of the mark will just kind of depend on how deep you're fishing and whatever. But right here and about, we're going to swim it right past. See if it'll go. That thing's only about 15 feet down. So, for that to be, I would not ID that as like a bigger fish. So I'm going to try and share some good tips in this video. I'll definitely run through the baits I'm using as well, and some of the tools in the arsenal this time of year. We'll probably mostly be casting. But yeah, right now I just got a simple jig and a crawler. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I like to have that basically ready as kind of my scouting bait, just with how versatile it is. I want to find out kind of if the fish are holding closer to bottom, if they're more suspended, and a jig is just the perfect presentation for that. If I'm seeing that a lot of the fish are close to the bottom, what I like to do generally is I like to switch to the drop shot. I can just be really efficient with the drop shot. That's a better size mark. Pretty close to it. Where'd it go? It looked like there was a bigger mark out in the distance too. I'm not seeing where that fish went, but we're gonna go check this out. This either looks like a little cloud of bait up at about right there, 70, or it looks like a decent sized fish. But we're gonna get a little closer and investigate. As we fight the wind here. It looks like two marks. Right about, try and square the boat up here. Going sideways in the wind. Right about there. Might be a little short. Yep, too short. We got about 30 out. They're at about 40. All right. Get that crawler slid back up. Boom. Generally, I would say if like there's a mistake that I make, sometimes I make throws that are a little too short. Pump that gain up a little bit too. That's something that I do sometimes. And if you are gonna miss, it almost always pays to miss long. Just gonna dance that thing kind of in their general area. Well, they didn't race in like absolute banshees and try and smash it, so maybe not a smallmouth bass. Also, you'll notice we slid out a little deeper. We're right off the edge. Right off the edge here. It's actually a third fish. We're kind of thrown right into that big group. So this is an 1/8 ounce jig. So it's definitely falling a little bit slower. I'm gonna give these 2 pods of fish right here another chance. Are they gonna follow it if I drop it? No. Wow. They're absolutely, completely, utterly uninterested in a jig. Where's that other mark? What if we get a little closer to that guy? Ooh, he's kind of swimming down to bottom. We'll leave him be. Let's slide back up here. That's one thing we might find. We might find the bass are up on top of this structure and maybe the walleyes are slid off a little bit. That's definitely common a lot of times on some of these lakes this time of year, now that we're officially in summer. But, you know, that being said, I still got faith we got some walleyes up here on this structure here. I think that's a fish right there. There we go. He's a little bit off to the left of the cone. We'll get close enough. We're thrown into the wind with a small jig, so I want to get close enough that I can make a good accurate cast without having to chuck it. It's right about there. That dog will hunt, I think. Couple fish sitting there. Seems like all the fish are sitting up in pairs right now. Ooh, there's another one. Does he have it? He had it. All right. He just mushed up that rod super softly. Hopefully this is the first walleye of the video here. That would be kind of fun. Or is it another bass? Oh no, that's a walleye. I'm just gonna go down and hand land this guy real quick. Ugh. If we run into a better sized fish, I'll grab the net. But I can hand land this guy. This is just a nice undersized fish. Somewhere in that 17, 18 inch range. Little beauty. Pop him off. Look, I still get to keep my night crawler. That's my favorite. Check that guy out. I can't see the camera with my sunglasses. There you go. Now, what do you think of him, Zelda? It's your first walleye sniff. That's our first walleye sniff. All right. The night crawler's a little beat up. I can already tell it's kind of fallen down a little bit. But let's see if we can salvage it. Let's see if those other fish are still up there. Let's see here. Let's see here. There's one sitting right there. Drop right down to that thing quick and just find out. Generally try not to target. Oop, it's right there. You got it? Nope. It's charging it. Dropped it down to the bottom. He kind of followed it down to the bottom there. I'll just kind of shake it in place a little bit. All right, well, we got one walleye on the board here. You know, when you clicked on this video, you know how long we end up fishing, but I have no idea right now how long we're gonna be fishing. But one thing you will learn if you're new here is that I will definitely forget how many we caught. Like when I do ice fishing videos in the winter, sometimes when I do these longer format videos, in the winter, I'll actually do them live. This is gonna be an awkward casting angle, so we're gonna leave that fish alone. It's kind of back behind the boat with the wind. But when we do live videos, I almost always, I just can't keep track of how many fish we've caught. So I'll leave it up to the viewers to keep track, but this isn't a live video, so I'm not too worried about it. Because you always get people in the comments that show up and say, how many do you guys got? All right, it looks like we got some rocks here, which is good. I like having a little bit of a cover on top of the structure here. Looks like there's quite a lot of rocks. Is that a walleye up there suspended up there? Yes. I would say yes. There's one right there on the bottom. There's another one. Let's line that guy up. I think we should hit this closer one first. Maybe we can get a rip at both these fish. Where did he go? Oh, there's a couple over there by that rock in the distance. All right, let's go for this guy right here. 40. Probably turn the gain down a little bit, getting kind of a harder read out. Oh, he's reacting to me reeling it up a little bit. You can't see my bait at the moment. Dropping it down to the bottom. The fish is following it down to the bottom there. Oh, he got it. Give it to him for a second, and there we go. My bait was kind of these live scope cones. It's actually like 3 different cones that are stitched together. And my bait was right in the stitching, so you really couldn't see the bait. Oh yeah, there we go. Another Walter. Another little beauty. Whoa. Whoa, thought I lost him there. There we go. Maybe just an inch longer than the last one, probably, I'd say. Zelda, what do you think of this one? Oops, you like him? She's a little afraid of him, I think. So there you go. Another Walter. Get him back. So there we go, 2 Walters. Not bad for however long we've been doing this. Does it say on my GoPro? I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Couple walleyes. That's a good run, I would say. I don't know if we've even made 10 casts. All right, let's see. You know what, I'm not gonna put a crawler on quite yet. So that was just simply my 1/8 ounce Smeltinator. I got a white head on there. Little 1/0 hook, 1/8 ounce. But now I'm gonna switch to a plastic. We'll see catching a couple fish like that in somewhat short order. Now is the time to see if the old plastic is gonna work. Let's see, where can I put this so you can see it? You can probably see it just fine. I'm just looking at a little screen while I'm self-filming here. So, little plastic. This is a 4-inch eye candy minnow, and I have it on a 1/4 ounce tungsten jig. So we're gonna see if that dog will hunt. Gotta make sure these cameras are still recording. Everything's still recording. Okay, we're still good. There were a couple fish up here on the top, up in the distance when I was fishing for this last one. But now we got the plastic. We're gonna fish this thing a little bit differently. Obviously, we're still gonna try and target these same fish with it. But we're gonna fish it a little bit more aggressively. Let's see, what were those guys? Could be a couple little walleyes there. Sideways throw. Not bad. So I'm kind of popping that thing in place a little bit. A few different ways you can run the plastic. That doesn't really look, that doesn't scream walleye to me. But I like casting at you anyway. A couple different ways you can fish this thing. I mean, you can kind of just work the bait kind of up and above the fish, kind of in the zone. Or you can let this thing crash to bottom. And then once it's in the bottom, you can either shake it in place, you can rip it up off the bottom. You can just kind of shake it, or you can just dead stick it. So this particular plastic is, it floats. So it's a TPE material, so it does float. So if you just let it sit on the bottom, actually, the tail will stick in the air, and that can be a tantalizing option. But it looks like we got some walleyes right there. One thing that I do love about jigging a plastic, you can just take that thing and whip it out there. You don't have to worry about the crawler falling off. That is one of the benefits. All right, we're a little bit closer here. Let's try and make a good, accurate cast at these guys. 40. Even you can see, even with an even with a 1/4 ounce jig on there, it still takes a while to get down to bottom. Just because that TP material is so buoyant, I will generally run a heavier jig with these plastics. So if you're used to running normal plastics, normal materials, you will for sure want to upsize your jig to what you're used to using. Just at least just one size up. No go on that run there. Let's see, do we still got those fish in the area here? Right there. Kind of doing weird stuff. I think we're gonna keep moving along here. Oh, I can't move along. I have to take another cast. Did they go off to the right there? Well, these things are moving so quickly. Which now we're throwing with the wind, which means the boat is going to end up sneaking up on top of these fish. Where'd they go? There they are. Kind of back behind the boat. Awkward cast. All right, let's keep moving. The worst thing that I feel like you can do when you fish like this is get yourself in a weird, awkward position where you see fish behind you and the wind is blowing that way and then the boat is blowing on top of the fish. Next thing you know, you're on top of the fish. So I always like to work up into the wind when I'm fishing this way. So we got one mark right there, kind of adjacent to that school of bait. So now he's over in the stitching right now, and there's one just like right there on the bottom too. Maybe we throw at him quick. Let that crash to bottom. Looks like he didn't really follow it. He went down to bottom, but I don't think he really followed the bait per se. Can we reel up into that guy? No, he's a little off to the side. Okay. Let's go. This was the one. This was the fish we were originally looking at casting at. And that fish shot right down to the bottom, but now he's going over towards the bait, which is a good sign. I'm just kind of popping that thing in place right now. I know the fish, that walleye was looking at it. Okay, we're gonna grab, one thing I will say, doesn't matter where you're fishing, what you're doing, always, if you really want to catch more fish, always be willing to quickly adjust your presentation, do something totally different. I tied up a drop shot before I turned on the cameras here. And I love drop shot fishing. Drop shots are one of the absolute, let's get this bobber out of the way. We might use a bobber later, we'll see. But drop shots are one of my absolute favorite presentations for like every species of fish. They're just wildly effective, which is one of my favorite characteristics of a good presentation. Wildly effective is generally what I'm looking for. So let's just thread this bad boy on. I would show it to the camera, but I like to thread my worms on over the side of the boat. So all the crap, all the dirt and whatever just comes off into the water as opposed to the floor of my boat. So trim off about a third, anywhere from like a third to 40% of the night crawler. Kind of the same deal that I do with my jigs. And we're ready to hunt. I got about 1.5 leader, and there's a walleye right there just waiting for us. A probable walleye. All right, slow our roll down a little bit. Square up the boat, about 40 feet. Where's he at? Right about there. You can see my drop shot weight on the bottom there. Let's see. Where did he go? It looked like he was following, he went up, and then I kind of, what you didn't see is I was swimming my bait up by the fish there. Looks like he got a little spooked. He totally evacuated the area. That was an unfortunate deal. Well, there's another fish right there. Of course, the moment I tie in a drop shot, we only see suspended fish. Well, you know what? If that's going to be the case, I'm going to grab my jig. I was kind of comfortable thinking that, you know, at this point we were seeing a lot of, get the drop shot ready. It's not in the water, but it's ready. It's off the side of the boat there, so I don't have to unhook it and all that. I was kind of confident in saying that, you know, most of the fish we were seeing were actually closer to bottom. So I thought the drop shot was going to be a pretty viable tool. But the drop shot is ready. That'll be the next presentation. We're going to put that jig and crawler back on. Jig and crawler is prepared. All right. We're ready. Where was that suspended fish that was sitting right out in front of us? That's tiny. Tiny marked. Not our friend. Okay, we gotta move along a little bit here. There's a little mark right there. It's kind of the same size as that other one we just passed. We were passing on though. It's right next to the bait though, so maybe it is an active feeding mark. Doesn't look big enough to be a walleye, but why the heck not? Also, perfect drop shot fish, now that I have a jig in my hand. That doesn't even look like a walleye to me. It could be. I had no interest in the jig and crawler. It didn't engage at all. There's one. Kind of adjacent to looks like a little bit of bait there. Once again, I wouldn't say that screams like big mark or anything. Now what we're looking for. Yeah, it's sort of interesting. As far as presentations go, I mean, there's presentations that I would consider to be very versatile. So for me, that's a jig. That is a walleye. So now we have, or at least it's a, you know, the correct size fish, predator size fish. I would consider like a jig to be highly versatile. Drop shots, I would say, are versatile in that you can fish them deep, you can fish them shallow, but generally with a drop shot, we're talking about fish that are close to bottom. But jigs can get fish, I don't know, what happened to that walleye. Other than I see one really high up in the water column right there in front of us. Kind of got to drop it right on their head and just kind of work it before it gets too low. That one we worked perfectly over that fish's head, and he didn't give us the time of day. One more cast, because why not? No go again. Well, it seemed like there was a little bit better action back behind us. So part of me wants to spin back around and take another look, but then there's another part of me that just wants to keep moving up forward, or looking at a different spot. I don't know. I don't think I necessarily want to go back and like refish that area. That is one thing you will notice though, when you watch folks like in an kind of a raw, uncut format like this, you kind of get a feel for like what is actually, you know, going on as far as, you know, are all these fish in one spot? Are they, you know, did you catch all the fish right there, or did you have to like run around the whole lake to catch those fish? Or what's the deal? This fish is actually engaging, which is cool. Let's drop it down to the bottom and see if he follows it down there. Nope. As soon as I dropped it, he left. Let's try and stay on this fish and make one more cast. That's usually not a fruitful strategy, but it's just like right there. But we gotta try. Let's give it one quick try. He did come over and look at it. Okay, keep moving. Don't get too distracted. Bunch of bait right there. The fish, looks like there's a fish behind it. Doesn't look like an enormous fish. We're just gonna keep on moving here. We're seeing a little bit more cover up on the top of this. We got some grass as they call it in the bass world. Or do we see any fish on this grass? No pods of fish anyway. We do got a little bit of something kind of hanging out on the backside here. Where are they at so I can line it up? Looks like, doesn't scream walleyes, but let's throw in there. You never know. So my jig should be gliding right into the zone right now. Spot lock, we may lose the live scope view. But I'm just gonna hang that in there. Oop, he does got it. Oh, shoot. I pulled it out of his mouth a little too quick there. There we go. It was a little pot of walleyes. Or, well, maybe not walleyes, but it's a pot of fish there. What do we got? Oh no, oh no. This is worst case scenario. Ow, ow, ow. Rock bass. That was one of the potential risks throwing in there. Should we throw back in there again? Everybody at home is screaming no, but there's a nice mark sitting right there at 45. Let's take a gander at that bigger mark right there. Oh my gosh. He came in fast. Hope he's got it. Oh no, he let go. I'm just gonna work it nice and soft here on the bottom. Hope he's got it now. Oh, well, that doesn't feel very big. Oh shoot, look at that guy. Target species. So we got rock bass, small walleyes. They're all just friends. We get mad when we catch a rock bass, but you didn't know that all of them are just friends. All right, let's keep catching. You know, let's catch another fish. How about that? Maybe we can find another fish that's something different. There might be more small walleyes in there. Are we happy as long as it's a walleye? All right, what else what is this? What do we got going on right here? Couple fish a little off to the left here. Does not look sizable. We're gonna keep working our way up on this spot a little bit. We're gonna run it a little farther up. Oh, what do we got here? Is that just a bunch of bait? Looks like an okay sized mark there. I really want that one at about 70. Right about there. Might take me a second here, but I want to let the boat drift a little bit so I can position downwind from this fish. Looks like a better sized fish. Okay, so we're getting pretty lined up now. All right, let me get him to about 40, I'd say. Where did he go? Did he run down to the bottom? I wasn't paying attention. Is that him right there? They're really moving around a lot. This is your chance. They're moving around like banshees. Where the heck did he go? He went down to the bottom. Not really a like finesse presentation type of fish to target, honestly. They're doing a really good job at moving along quickly. So we're just gonna keep moving is what we're gonna do. All right, we got some weeds over here to the right. Should we see if there's anything sitting on the edge of the weeds? Sometimes you can find nice big pods of walleyes or pods of rock bass, whatever you're looking for. Looks like there are a few fish right on the edge. Yeah, right there. Just gonna kind of glide that right through the zone. Oh, popped it out of a weed there. Got some fish following it right below the boat there. Got my night crawler falling off a little bit, so we're gonna rebait. That is one thing you will notice. Once that night crawler gets a little bit off kilter and tears off or halfway tears off, there's a good chance you're probably not going to, that night crawler is gonna become a problem night crawler. So once it comes off your bait keeper once or twice, it's gonna just keep slipping off your bait keeper nonstop, unfortunately. All right, so we're sliding that crawler up, pinch the tail, and I also think the next order of business, so I'm gonna get a little caffeine. We'll take a 15-second break in the action. To get a little fuel. How's the puppy doing? Puppy's just napping. I think that's going to be a common theme with the puppy. In the morning, the puppy is wild. The puppy loves to play. My kids love the puppy. And then like during the day, it'll have 1 or 2 bouts of energy. But otherwise, we'll be napping like crazy. That thing loves to nap. All right, what do we got here? Now, when you're looking at weeds, you kind of have to look at them slowly and analytically. When you see like a little mark near the weeds, above the weeds, by the weeds, you kind of have to pan a little bit, and you might see that that little mark that you see is actually just a weed. So it can be a little difficult, but anyone who tells you that you can't use forward-facing sonar to see fish in the weeds, it's either one of 2 things. Either 1, they haven't used forward-facing sonar enough, or 2, they're talking about walleyes that are way up in the like in the thick of the weeds. And if that's the case, well, then that is actually true. But you undoubtedly can see fish that are hiding near the weeds or on the weeds or around the weeds, or in some cases even in the weeds. If it's really thick like this, it's going to be harder. But if you can play with your gain a little bit, turn it up and down. And for me, it's just a lot of experimenting, just to kind of see what the best setting is to see at that exact moment. But all in all, the more you play with it, the better you're going to learn it, and the more fish you're going to see. The only downside to fishing in and around the weeds is, well, there's a few downsides, obviously, but for the camera purposes, it's harder for me to talk and look at what's in the weeds, because you kind of have to think really hard. There's definitely fish off the edge right there. I can tell you that right now for free. Better sized marks too, not as big as schools, but you can see that guy right there on the top. We're at about 40 feet. Let's try and line that up a little bit so we can make a good cast. We lost him. Not losing this one though. Pretty easy to ID that fish. That fish just followed it right down to bottom. We're pretty shallow now, we're about 13 feet. Oh, he's got it. Or he at least pecked it. Yep, he still got it. There we go. Walleye? Yep. Whoa. Boat flip, little tough. All right. Boat flipping is always a little bit of a risk when you got 6 pound test on. I actually thought this fish was a little bit smaller than it was. I thought it was more similar to that last fish we caught. But it wasn't. No, it's a little like a step up from that last fish. So there we go. Another Walter. Just a good eater size fish if we were harvesting today. All right, what's the health of the night crawler? The health of the night crawler is we need another one. So actually, I will say right now, unfortunately, I'm not giving you a nice close-up of my night crawler rigging strategies, but with that being said, I did just post a video about that exact topic. How I hook night crawlers for optimal success. So let's see here. We just got some smaller crawlers left in this particular pen, but that's okay, because usually we cut about a third of them off anyway, of those bigger ones. Okay, let's get this little guy threaded on. The little ones are a little tougher to thread on, so you don't have as much meat to thread inside. There we go. But sometimes the smaller crawlers actually do end up staying on the keeper even a little bit better. But if I can pick, I'm always going to pick the biggest, fattest, juiciest crawler of the bunch. Okay. What do we got in front of us now? Looks like we got a couple marks down there. My range is, I like to manually adjust the range. So sometimes the range can be a little deceiving after I've changed it. So let's see. Yeah, those fish are only 12 feet down. It seemed like they were way down on the bottom of something, but I only had my range set at like 20 feet or whatever, so. All right, let's see. Probably crank this gain up a little bit. Get a little closer to these guys. Right there at 50. We can make that cast. My jig couldn't quite get to 50. 45 was my limit apparently, but that should be close enough. Is it gonna be close enough? Are you guys gonna move on it at all? Oh yeah, he's coming down the lug. The moment of truth. Is he gonna go? He's gonna go. They've been really pretty bitey today, honestly, which is fun. Doesn't feel like an enormous walleye, but that's about the same size as the last one. Whoa, uh-oh. We just boat flipped from one side to the other. We're getting a little too wild with my 6 pound test. especially when I can just go down and grab them like that. All right, here we go. Another jig eater. Though I do have a drop shot hanging out there. Look at that. It's got a little bit of a, I don't even know what you'd call that. Looks like something off of a Target Walleye newsletter. But yeah, anyway. Just another Walter. I may want to change spots here and see if we can, well, we should finish this spot anyway. I do like the action so far. But we could go around and hog hunt a little bit at some point here. All right, let's see. Let's keep the jig off to the side. Let's see if my night crawler is all crusty over here now. Or is that still workable? Yeah, we still got a functional night crawler. Let's use this guy for the next run. Watch, the next fish that we find will be 12 feet off the bottom, 10 feet off the bottom. Okay, we're ready. Ah, there's one right there. Let's try and charge him. It's like the wind has died down a little bit. Now, I love the drop shot. It's just like, basically it's just another delivery system, you know, for bait. So you're gonna keep it off the bottom a little bit. One thing I've noticed so far is these fish really do not mind picking these baits off the bottom. So drop shot might not be necessary, but we're gonna try it. Little change up, little something different. It's also a little easier to throw a drop shot a good distance. So that one went about 60 feet. We're gonna, ooh, there he goes. As you saw, he kind of turned on it. We'll see if he grabs it. He's got it. There we go. It's kind of like traditional live bait fishing. You know, you feel that bite, you drop the rod tip, let him eat it just a second or two, and boom, set the hook. This is actually a really good bite, I'm not gonna lie. We're like almost an hour in and we've got a number of walleyes. The drop shot, it was just straight up automatic. Promise you we won't be boat flipping with the drop shot. Oh, ooh. Lost my grip on him. Here we go. All right. The only downside to a drop shot is when you got really light line like I have. There's a lot of upsides to this setup, but one of the downsides is the line can get a little bit tangled if you let the fish just go nuts. So I like to get a good hold of the fish, and just another beauty right there. Get a good hold of the fish and don't let them get too feisty and get your line all messed up. But yeah, my setup on this drop shot is pretty simple. Let's see, we got a little remnant crawler on it. But it's pretty simple. Actually, one of the highest viewed videos on this YouTube channel is a video on drop shot fishing for walleyes. So if you want more information on this whole strategy, I'd recommend watching that video for sure. But basically what my setup is, I gotta get these night crawlers out of the boat too, otherwise the dog's gonna come and eat them. Essentially what I have is just like a simple longer shank hook. Usually what I'm going with is a number 2 size. So there's some hooks I like from Gamakatsu, some hooks I like from VMC, but I mentioned all that stuff in that other video. But the important part is that you have a longer shank hook that's kind of the right size, so that number 2, and then it has a good keeper. So For the fluorocarbon leader, I like to have a nice long fluorocarbon leader, braided main line, but I like to have it long just because I want this to be a really finessey presentation that I can use in really clear water, and just have it be like a secret weapon in, you know, the most difficult situations. So 6 pound test, braided main line, and then I like to have the dropper length, so the distance from the hook down to the weight, I like that to be like 1.5 feet usually, which is roughly what we got right here. And for this scenario, I have a 1/4 ounce weight, and I actually will go up or down from that weight depending on the scenario. If you're fishing really shallow, if the fish are being a little bit more hesitant and spooky by a faster drop speed, I'll downsize. Or if I'm fishing in like 30 feet of water and the fish are moving around really fast, like they're close to bottom, but they're just kind of cruising, this will be a really good weapon for that. Or if you're just fishing in an area where there's a lot of fish, and it doesn't matter if you scare 1 or 2 of them because you're casting into a school of 15 of them, a heavier weight and just more fast and efficient tactic can be the deal. So yeah, that's kind of the rundown on that presentation. I guess from there, you know, we could just kind of, I could talk about like everything I have rigged up right now. I could just run through that really quick. Let me get this crawler chunks off my fingers. All right, so I have the drop shot. Boom. I have the naked jig here, where I can throw different live bait on this, or I can throw a plastic. But 1/8 ounce jig is always ready, because that's my finesse forward-facing sonar presentation that I can use and glide in front of the fish. 1/4 ounce jig with a kind of bigger 4-inch plastic. I'd consider this a little bit on the bigger side for walleyes, but 4-inch eye candy minnow, green pumpkin color with the chartreuse head, but that 1/4 ounce head, so it drops a little bit faster. And I always have this ready, because this is one of those baits where you can throw it into a pot of fish, give it a rip or two or a little pop, and just kind of force a bite, especially after I just lose a night crawler or something, just to have a jig and a plastic, something I don't have to worry about rehooking. You know, if I have a fish that's really active and I miss them and I don't have bait anymore, you can usually throw this thing right out and catch them right away. You know, a lot of people will have like a glide bait, you know, kind of like a jig and wrap, puppet minnow, shiver minnow, whatever. They'll have that ready, but that's going to have a significantly different action than the night crawler. So they get bit off on, or they, you know, lose their night crawler, or they lose their leech or whatever, and all the time it takes them to go and rehook, that fish is gone. But while that fish is still engaged, you turn around, you grab the plastic, and a lot of times they'll scarf it right up. I had that happen earlier this year on a nicer fish, which was kind of fun. I have 2 more rods tied up ready at the moment. One of them will not surprise anyone, and one of them will be a little surprising. So we're going to start out with the not surprise. Not surprise is a bobber. So I got a bobber, 6 pound fluorocarbon leader. I got a bullet weight right there, 1/4 ounce, I believe. And then a little 1/16 ounce tungsten jig, which is just we're definitely going to use this presentation for sure today. I will say for certainly. But this last one will surprise some people, and this is not a fairy wand. We got us a bait casting rod right here, and little Minnesota mullet. So this is a presentation that I've been meaning to play with for walleyes. I wouldn't say any of the fish that we've seen today are the type of fish that I want to throw this bait at. But this bad boy right here is a big bodied hair jig essentially. And I have a theory that I'll be able to use this in front of big walleyes and possibly get them to go. It's specifically designed for big bass. So the big hair jig concept has really kind of grown in popularity over the last 10 years or so for bass. But I think there's a spot for it for walleyes. I know some guys who have used baits just like this to catch huge walleyes out on Gull Lake. So there's that. But this is the smallest size that Northland came out with this year. This is a new jig from them. And I kind of think that I should be able to catch some walleyes on it, but I don't know if we're gonna bust it out today. So maybe if I see like a giant mark. I do know some guys have been using it to catch pike so far, as well as bass. But I definitely want to crank like a huge giant walleye on it one of these days. So that's kind of a run through on the different presentations we have at the ready. I'm gonna put these rods back so they're kind of prepared. Get a little more caffeine and then we'll get back after it. Okay. Let's make sure the cameras are still recording here. We still should be in good shape. Live scope's still recording, that's always a big one. Okay, I think we were gonna stick with, ooh, that kind of looks like a jig fish right there. We're kind of spot locked, so that's 2 feet. Yeah, let's see if we can drop shot another fish up here. Get this guy rigged up. Do we have any more crawlers in this one? Just one teeny tiny little one. All right, we can throw that in the garbage. Puppy's just been napping the whole time back there. And we're busting into the second pack of crawlers. Although that last pack was not a full pack. Some of those crawlers had been used in an earlier day of fishing. But I have a plethora of crawlers in there. I have about three more packs in there, which we will not be going through in this video. No way. If we catch that many fish, I'm definitely permanently switching to plastics for the last half of the video. All right, got another drop shot rigged up. Rigged up and ready to rock. All right, I didn't have my spot lock on for the first little moment, for the first little bit of that last segment, so I probably slid off my spot a little bit here. Yeah, I slid back into the weeds here. Definitely gonna keep an eye out for fish while I'm going over these weeds. A lot of times some of the biggest fish that you'll find are way up in the weeds, and a lot of times they're like sitting on top of the weeds, way up there. So looks like we got one fish. Is that a fish right about there? Or was that a little school of bait? No, right there. Ooh, there's one. Ooh, this is a drop shot fish too. Look at him. Right on the bottom like that. He's kind of relating to that bait too. He's somewhat close to it. 50 feet. The wind did pick back up. Where's my bait? I think it's on the bottom. Let's make another little pitch at him. I lost track of where he was when I was bomb casting. Right about there. Ooh, he doesn't like that. It's moving a little too quickly for him, I think. That was I would call a negative reaction. But I'll still work it in place anyway, just because I can't see him. He might have circled back around, but I don't think so. Okay. Let's keep going here. Is that the same fish, or is that part of that bait pod? No, that's a fish right there. It's like he's down there taking a look at it. Is he gonna go? No go. Oh, he's still there though. Let's drop it back down. Oh, he's interested, but he's not that interested. Interested enough to give me a good look like that, but I'd like to see a bite, buddy. Now he's really all over it. Oh, he grabbed it? Yes? No? Oh, he just bumped into it. I felt his body bump into it. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Keep moving along here. I kind of want to check out a little bit out here. A little bit further up on this structure. I'll even zoom this out a little bit for you. Just so you get a little bit more context. I don't want to zoom it out too far that you can identify the lake I'm fishing or anything like that. But I want you to just get even a feel for what I'm fishing and how I'm fishing it. There's one right there. Awkward sideways into the wind angle, but drop shot is usually a pretty good tool for casting into the wind like that. Oh, geez. That was an erratic movement. I think I might have startled him, but then it looked like he did turn around to look at the bait again. Is he gonna go? So the drop shot, a lot of times, less is more is a good strategy. I do like to work the bait a little bit, but realistically, you can catch plenty of fish just throwing this out and just letting it sit still. And a lot of times, you know what? A lot of times that's the best. But I like to give it a little bit of action usually. I'm not saying that's for sure always the best. Sometimes just a simple dead sticking strategy is really, really effective. Got one right there on the bottom. I like to keep an eye, usually once I know where my jig is, I like to keep an eye on the fish to see if the fish will react. It's less important that I know where my jig is, or that I can see exactly and follow my jig, because I mostly want to know, what is that walleye doing? All right, let's get him, he's close now. I can just kind of pitch over to him. That's gonna bonk him right on the head. It's a piece of tungsten. They aren't seeming to like the faster drop speed with that drop shot weight. Kind of freaks them the heck out, I've noticed. So basically at that point you have two options. Do you say, hey, I'm gonna put a lighter weight on there? Or do you say, I'm gonna switch to like a jig or a bobber or something? You know what? Just for the fun of it, since we have caught something on this drop shot already, let's put a bobber on. See if we can get one on a completely different presentation. I'll even leave the crawler on there just in case. But let's get that bobber ready. Okay. All right, so first things first. Looks like we have that thing set at about maybe 12 or so. Let's cast it out there and just confirm what we got. About 12. Okay, so the one thing I hate about bobber fishing is I hate constantly adjusting that bobber stop based on how deep I'm seeing these fish set up. So that's the one thing you're gonna hear me complain about, but I'll try not to complain too much. But it can be just a really, really good tactic. Ooh, these leeches are not in the best shape. They're in freezing cold water though, so maybe they're just a little. Yeah, that'll be all right. Okay. All right, we got the bobber stop set at 12 feet. Let's see if we can bobber scope some fish here. I'll even push back a little bit this way. We're getting a little bit off the structure to the side. I may have to kind of configure our setup here. Oh yeah, that leech is still doing good. He was just icy, icy cold. That's why I do like to kind of keep them in that cold water. Because one, they live really good like that. Okay, let's try that guy. He's just kind of right there beside the boat. But also when you go and try and hook them, they're just like, they don't move at all. All right, so we got that bobber right there in the zone. Few fish, including that bigger one. That bigger one's coming over to look at them, which is my preference, of course. Probably kill the gain a little bit in here. We're a little bit shallower water. Awesome thing about the bobber, obviously, is you can just hang that thing right in the zone and just hope that the biggest fish around bites it and not one of the small ones. All right, we're gonna keep moving. One thing is, like, if you have a bait that's not moving, the fish kind of, sometimes they come up and crack it. But like other times, they'll kind of take their time because they see the bait's not going anywhere. It's just kind of dangling. They don't have to make a decision instantly this second. So a lot of times they don't make a decision and they just sit there and look at it. A little competition can help with that. They don't want their buddy to get it before them, but aside from that, okay, let's see. Should we try for that guy? Now let's keep moving here. Couple fish kind of off to my side here. I don't know if we quite got enough distance, but that dog might still hunt. It's also not gonna, oh geez, look at him coming up for it though. I was just about to say that the bobber might not be set deep enough. That is the one thing though. If a walleye is hungry, they will come up for it. Although it didn't look like he took a bite, but he might be coming back up. He's taking another look. Ooh. No, he's going back down. Is he giving up? Is that all she wrote? That looks like that one might be going up to look. I kind of want to throw it at that mark over there at 60. That's what I want to do. Okay, we're going to reel it up and we're going to throw it at that mark over there at 60. Because that's the right kind of mark we're looking for with this tactic. $40. The jig is penduluming into the zone. We got a walleye who's going to take a bite right about... Nope, not yet. What about now? What about now? We have a walleye who's also very apprehensive and not ready to commit to the bobber. Best thing about the bobber is I can consume more caffeine while we wait. I don't think he's going to come and bite though. I think we got one good look and that was it. Before I reel up, let's just make sure he's not close. No, he's not close. I kind of want to grab my jigging crawler and see if we can tempt him. We're starting to get a lot of rods up here in the front now. I gotta try a jigging crawler though. The nice thing about a really lightweight jigging crawler setup like that is you can kind of do double duty. You can either, well you can, if it's a light enough jig like this 1/8 ounce jig, you can dangle it in front of their face. But you can also move it and manipulate the bait. That gives you a lot more flexibility to kind of get them to commit to biting as opposed to sniffing. All right, I got that guy ready. He's at least ready. And I think I've drifted off the spot a little bit here. It looks like that better size mark is still there, so that's good. Let's see if we can get him to go. Get her to go. She's gonna be a big girl, I hope. They gotta exist in here, right? They can't all just be eater size. Sneak our way a little bit closer. Right about there. Ended up a little bit to the right, but it might still work. It didn't work. Let's make another cast. No, he didn't like that. Right? Right? Oh, he's liking it moving a little bit like that. It's kind of a bugger. All right, let's keep moving along here. How far are we in? Not quite an hour and a half yet. We got to keep moving. I want to finish out this spot quick and then head to a different spot. Fish right down there underneath the boat. Let's just scan around a little bit here. There's a little mark right underneath the surface. We don't need to work on him. How do you like that? You guys think we should cast at those? Little lineup. We almost got to cast in there just to see what we're working with here. Come on, buddy. They're checking it out. All right, let's make another pitch into there. Although this one's got some, we almost got to try the bobber in there, just for the heck of it. Before this leech gets all dried up. All right. Yeah, I could see some damage being done with a bobber in that little school. There's our bobber coming down. Definitely in the zone here, but the bobber's still up. They're not going to make it easy, that's for sure. That one's kind of eyeing it up, but we got to keep going here. Okay. Are those the same fish over there? Let's go to the side here. Let's just take a gander at these fish quick. It's hard to move when there are fish, you know, all throughout the area. Even if the bite is slowed down on you a little bit. Especially when that just screams like a pot of walleyes right there. Is one of these fish gonna bite my stinking jig? Now let's make another cast in there quick. Or just work the bait through there. I kind of threw it where they went to and not where they were living. Gotta get that bait right on the edge of the weeds there. Let's see, up there. Try and work that bait through that school. Non-committal. They're non-committal. All right. All right. I want to make another cast. But usually at this point, it's time to move on. I feel like, okay, after this is the last cast, and then we're moving spots. So I better make it good. Kind of soaking that in the weeds a little bit. Just kind of working it through there. Nothing followed me out of the weeds into the abyss. All right, next spot, we're gonna move along. So, like I mentioned before, this is an uncut video. So we're not gonna make any cuts, but what we are gonna do is I'm gonna fast forward through my whole driving the boat process, because I don't think that there's any need for me to have this video go for 5 minutes with just me driving the boat. So we're gonna start the fast forwarding right about now. All right. Next spot. Next spot is a little bit of like a point. It's like there's weeds on top of it. We're gonna see if we can find some weed line fish here. Check the cameras, that looks pretty good. Check this, decent enough. Everything's still recording. All good. All right. I actually thought we'd be hiding from the wind a little bit where we're at, but that is turning out to not be true. It's still windy over here too. That's okay though. A lot of times the wind can be good for fishing. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of poke around. As you can see, there's a thick wall of weeds, like really, really thick. It's starting at about 14, 15 feet. But oftentimes what I'm looking for is little pods of marks just outside of that. Looks like we got some wakeboard boats behind us. Classic summer in Minnesota things. Looks like we had a fish right there underneath the boat, but let's try and back off this weed line a little bit. Nice thing with the forward facing is you can see a good distance away. You don't always, the only time I really do kind of like to get up on top of the fish, or not even on top of them, but close, is just, the only reason is just for casting accuracy. But really you can see marks from a long distance away. Look at those little guys. we should try and square them up for a little cast. So get some weeds right there. All right. Oh, geez. There's the wakeboard waves. Try to keep my sea legs through that. Okay, so there's one just like right there. Let's see if we can get his attention. I don't love throwing at the ones just underneath the boat. It seems like a low probability deal there, but look at that. We want that guy. Look, he's chasing bait around. He might just instantly bite whatever we throw at him. So we're just gonna throw whatever we have in our hand. He kind of went down to bottom after taking a swipe at that bait. It's like he's looking to scoop us off the bottom there. He's got it. There we go. New spot, new fish. Let's see what we're working with. Pretty smaller little walleye. All right, I was gonna let him go down. There we go. Like a 14, 15 incher. Could be a cutter depending on where you're at. I tend to go for more of those 17 inches or so, but that thing probably fell into the category of a cutter. But that was kind of cool. It was neat to see that fish chasing that bait around a little bit. I think I had mentioned this earlier in the video, but a lot of times I'll actually kind of see it where I see less fish around areas with bait. But that just sort of depends. It depends lake to lake, time of day, time of year. But oftentimes, yeah. But you can tell too when the fish is doing that. When you do find fish by bait, they tend to be active like that. Those tend to be real eaters, from what I've seen. Obviously, that fish went and grabbed it right away, so you can't argue with those results, that's for sure. All right, it feels like we kind of fell off the break a little bit here. There's a couple of walleyes right there. Also have a pontoon coming right in front of us. But I can still make a cast up there. It's kind of a more quieter little, not quieter, but a smaller little bay. I kind of was expecting there not to be any boat traffic. Or at least, you know, less. But there's actually more up here. Looks like the fish engaged right there as it hit the bottom. Just got a quick glimpse of that on the scope. He didn't grab it though. Looks like he's right there. Is he coming back down to take a look? Oh, here comes the wake boat again. All right, let's make another cast at this guy right here. There's our buddy hooting and hollering. About 100 feet in front of the boat. Okay. That's okay, we can still catch some walleyes, right? Just gotta brace myself for these waves that are coming in right now. All right. What do you think, pup? You know, you got some water right here. Zelda, come here. Look it, right here. Come here. Yep, right there, bud. Just gotta make sure she knows she's got that there. Oh, the wakeboarder fell. let's go for this guy here. It's kind of relating to that school of bait. We'll go for this shorter guy right there. Oh, he thumped it hard. There we go. Another one. All right, ready, Zelda? There we go. It's okay. I know he's a little crazy and scary. What do you think? You don't like him? Zelda says this guy's a little stanky. She went back into the back of the boat. All right. Whoa. One last look. Try not to drop him in the boat. All right. Well, this has kind of been a little bit automatic, huh? Not bad for the middle of summer in central Minnesota. Although we haven't seen much size yet. So we've been fishing some of these weed line fish. I could definitely see the argument of trying to go out somewhere, maybe somewhere away from the weeds possibly. And see if we can run into some bigger fish. This particular lake, I don't necessarily think has like a ton of really big fish. But every stocked walleye lake has some large ones, even if they don't show up in the surveys. But I was on that new Onyx Fish app, and there is a high density of walleyes in this lake. But surveys show lots of walleyes, maybe not as many giants. But don't give up yet, guys. We may still run into big ones. There were some big ones in the survey too, but less of them, I would say, which I guess makes sense for most lakes, but even comparatively. All right, let's see here. What's been interesting about this particular spot, here comes the waves. What's interesting about this particular spot is haven't seen as many fish, but you're seeing some fish that are a little more active. You know, some of this fish is targeting bait, you know, and you can tell that they're actually actively feeding on the bait at the moment. I'm just dropping right in the middle of this big pile of bait. We'll see what happens. There were some fish kind of hunting around on this little school of bait. But yeah, no, a high percentage of these fish are actually biting, which is really cool. But this little bay is busy as heck, so we're gonna get out of here in just a few minutes, I think. I can't even blame boats for driving close in this bay because it's not a huge little area. But what are you gonna do? All right, so we're kind of going around the corner here. Sort of looking just at the tip of this point. I'm actually not seeing like much for weeds on the tip of the point. There is a little bit, there it is. It's a little bit more off the edge a little bit there. Looks like there are some fish scattered around up here though. I don't know what the probability of these being like bass versus walleyes. The odds are a little higher that we're looking at bass, I think, but definitely can still be walleyes up here. It's kind of like short little scattered weeds. So I'm gonna reel up, cast at where was it? This little pod right here. $50. Might be a little short. Actually, that's right about at 50. Oh gosh. Yeah, there's a lot of whatever that is right there. Could be a little pack of walleyes, could be a little pack of bass. One of the two. I haven't gotten bit yet, so probably a pack of walleyes. Kind of pop that through there. You can tell they're kind of watching. Ooh, that fish kind of took a swipe. They all just come up really fast and look at it really quick. All right, I don't like the look of those fish. Thinking we got to get out of here. Yep, here comes the wake boat again. We got to get out of here. Welcome to summertime in Minnesota. I would say it gets better once the kids have to go back to school, but if you look around at all these boats, I'm not seeing a lot of kids. I'm seeing a lot of young adults. Let's see, is everything still recording good? All right, we're gonna run to a different spot. It's kind of cool, you can see it started dark on that side of the lake and a little brighter over here. Anyway, we're gonna keep on looking. We're gonna look for the next spot here. Where are we gonna go? All right, so I was just actually side scanning a structure that was pretty close to there. And I was seeing a few fish. So we're just gonna look here. Just a little bit more of a sharper break. Might find some, well, there you go. Might find some suspended fish. A lot of times, oh, there's some weeds on this break too. A lot of bait fish. We're just gonna kind of run and gun along here and see what we can find. I'd love to find some bigger fish, maybe suspended off the edge here. That's gonna be the goal, I think, for the next half hour. Maybe hunt a bigger fish. There's one right in there, a fish right in there. Yeah, I'll leave them. We're gonna keep moving. What about that guy? Should we see what he's all about? It almost looks like a weed, like a floating weed. It's half like a fish. It kind of looks like a floating weed to me. We don't need to cast at floating weeds. I will also say, if there's a big suspended walleye off of here, we're not going to have any question after looking at the mark what it is. I don't know if that's a big one, but that does look like a walleye. Is he gonna follow it down to the bottom? Yes, he's definitely following it down to the bottom. Kind of jig it there for him. Give them a handful of seconds. Lift it up, drop. Lift, drop. In the meantime, I'm going to keep an eye out for other fish here. There's another one we could maybe make a cast at. Once again, doesn't look enormous, but walleye's a walleye. We're not too picky. We're a little picky, but we're not too picky. He's right in the stitching there. All right, we're too picky. We're too picky for that one. So we got one down on the bottom there. We could square him up and take a rip. Almost feels like the wind is picking up a little bit. The waves are kind of rollers back there. It's hard to tell on video, you know, what it's like, but it is getting there a little bit. The waves are kind of rolling. All right, we'll see. Is this fish gonna go and take a look? Dropped it about 1.5 feet away from him. It doesn't look like he's going to go for it. Let's go look at this guy. That last fish was pretty close to the bottom. This guy's a little more suspended. It's kind of an awkward proposition trying to make these casts because you're trying to cast it into the wind, you're trying to get some distance, but you're also not trying to whip it. So you're kind of trying to loft the bait and throw it hard. It's like we ended up in no man's land with that cast. That fish must have took off. Looks like that fish. What's going on there? Little interference. It's like the fish is following me down to the bottom there. All right, there are some fish out here, but I think we're gonna pick up and we're gonna look at something a little different. Because while there are some suspended fish, to me, they don't look like they're any bigger than those weed line fish. And if you're gonna be chasing fish that are suspended, they might as well as be big. Because if they're not big, then you're just gonna be doing a lot of chasing for fish that are not formidable. Because the fish that are pinned up in one spot, those fish aren't gonna be moving around as much and they're just easier to catch. You know, these ones are a little harder to catch, and if they're not big marks, then it's not really worth it, in my opinion. So I'm gonna look for another spot here real quick. All right, this is some deeper structure. Is the map still going here? Yes, the map is still going. All right, this is some deeper structure. gonna bump my downrange a little bit. And we're gonna sneak around kind of on the outside here. It does look like there might be some shallower, well, either weeds or sand up on the top there. But this is the type of spot where we might find a better fish. If there are better fish in this lake, it might be in this area. Looks like the cameras are still recording. Should I even turn the brightness up on this one a little bit? That'll work. All right. So we are kind of on a break here. And I'm just working our way up this break. Kind of looking left, looking right with the transducer. Just covering some water. Scooting up a little bit shallower. I'm gonna zigzag back out deep again. And basically, well, we're gonna do whatever the fish tell us here. But ideally, I'm looking for fish that are bigger marks that are suspended off of bottom. It's possible we may see some fish on the bottom. What you're seeing right there is just some rocks. A few little rocks on the bottom there. But we want to see a big suspended walleye is what we're looking for. And that might just take a minute. So, yeah, these last couple of weeks have been a little bit of a whirlwind for me. Just we had 4th of July, which was a festivity, a couple different fireworks shows, get-togethers with family. And then we had me and my wife had an anniversary. We went up to the North Shore for 3 days. So that was a big chunk of time. And then my daughter's birthday was after that. So we had a birthday party. And then on Saturday, actually, a couple days ago, I went out fishing with my dad. We were kind of up fishing around whitefish, which was fun. And yeah, caught a few fish. Didn't get into a bunch of them like we were hoping, but got into some fish. Caught a 4-pound bass, which was fun. Haven't done a lot of bass fishing this summer yet. So going after a fish that jumps, it's okay. Although we started this video out with a smallmouth bass. So that's different, right? Yeah, so it's been a lot going on. So I'm kind of excited for things to slow down a little bit more. We had a trip planned for Mount Rushmore, which we decided to postpone, which ended up just being the right decision because we'd be going to Mount Rushmore now in a couple days. So it's been busy. So I wanted to get this video out on Sunday. So I guess if you're watching this in 2 months, you won't know any different. But if you've been watching all the videos and you watch this deep into the video, then you were probably like, yeah, you know what? I thought this video was coming out on Sunday too. I've been trying to do a video every Sunday and then another video kind of between Wednesday and Thursday or somewhere in that range, or Tuesday sometimes. But yeah, this one's gonna be a little bit later and it's just because we've been so busy. So it is what it is. I'm seeing a couple little pods of bait fish over here. So now this little edge, nice little structure edge, is kind of turning into a little bit of a point. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna kind of push it into the inside a little bit here, and then I'm gonna work my way straight out the point. There's one fish. Nothing big though. Get this one out at about 80. Once again, does not look like a huge fish. There's another mark over there, a little higher up. That's not even worth casting at, in my opinion. So we'll keep moving. See, you turn the brightness up and now everything gets all bright. Let's work our way out off of this point here. What about that guy? Maybe we should give that guy a little run. Right there, okay. Looks like we ended up about 5 or 6 feet short. Let's make another little pitch at him. Like I said before, it's always better to be long than short. But when you're just trying to loft these crawlers out there, it's kind of hard to be long sometimes. Is he following it down to the bottom? No. It's still above him. But he is slowly maneuvering his way down to the bottom. Not a good sign. No, he's like, can you just get away from me? That'd be great. So, that dog don't hunt. All right, if you made it this far into the video, you know what time it is. It is drop an emoji in the comment section time. And on the topic of dogs, we got Zelda down there on the floor, just sleeping. Just actually, yeah, I can't grab my cell phone to show Zelda because I got the map on there. But since we are so deep into this video, and if you watch this far, you are obviously a very loyal watcher. I would just like to know who all is watching this late into the video. If you are, drop a dog emoji into the comment section. And if you don't know how to, do an emoji, just type woof into the comment section, because the last reaction from that walleye was woof. So do that. This isn't for the algorithm. I'm not trying to pump it up with more comments. I don't think it really matters that much. That's why I never really ask for people to, like and subscribe and whatever. I don't think that makes a huge difference. So that's not why we're doing it. I just want to know who's actually watching all the way into this video. So, I mean, it's got to be at least 2 hours now, right? I feel like it should say somewhere on this camera how long it's been recording, but anyway, yes, it's been a long time, and put a dog emoji in the comment section if you're still watching. Or if you're a cat person and you're really averse to putting dog emoji, then you can do a cat. I'll allow it just this one time. Let's see here. This point isn't too promising. There's a couple marks, but I mean, they're not big marks. I'm trying to figure out though, this camera says 18 minutes. Does that mean there's only 18 minutes left on it? This one's been going for, oh, it says 2 hours and 15 minutes or so. All right, we're gonna move. This camera actually, oh yeah, now it says 18 or 17 minutes. Okay, this camera is running out of storage space. So I'm gonna go real fast to another spot. I have no idea if we're gonna catch fish there. It's gonna be another deeper spot like this last spot because I just wanna see if we can maybe contact a larger fish. But we're gonna do this really quick because we're running out of storage space on that camera. All right, let's be quick here because we got 15 minutes and I probably won't even run it 15 minutes because, you know, I don't want it to die before I get to say goodbye. You never know how accurate that 15-minute number is on that camera. I probably should have deleted some of the clips on that card before we started this. There's a couple walleyes right there though. We're sort of right on the edge of a, this is like a hump. I mean, that does not scream big walleye, but, you know, they are some fish. Oh, there's a fly over here. Okay, should we cast? Should we even cast it, or should we just keep looking? I'm kind of just addicted to casting at marks. I can't not cast at it. Surprise, surprise, I actually overshot this one. Hope he's coming up to grab it. He's got it. Feels like a cookie cutter. Another one of those Walters. Well, that's what you guys are here for anyway, right? More walleyes. There you go. Beauty. Another perfect pan-sized fish. If we were eating them. It is kind of fun. You can definitely tell the size structure, right? I mean, I think all you guys probably were able to look at it and see, obviously, you know, doesn't look like huge marks, but a little pot of them. It is fun to just pull up to a decent looking spot though and find some fish. You know, and that is one of the advantages of forward facing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh man, you could do just as good without it, blah, blah, blah. That's just obviously not true. Otherwise, I wouldn't be using it. But like, you look at this spot, how many fish are even on this spot? You know what I mean? Doesn't look like a lot, but there was a little pot of 3 there. There is one right there next to that school of bait. Yeah, I mean, there's just not very many fish here. But you can take this technology and you can go to, that's why I think it's great for fishing. Like, I don't think it's a, like, obviously it's a little cost prohibitive, undoubtedly, you know, but more units are gonna be for sale, you know, like used on the used market. And I think this technology is a good thing for fishing because it makes it so you can go to spots where there aren't a lot of fish and you can have some success. Like, a lot of people just want to go out and catch a couple fish for the frying pan, you know? Like, a lot of people would be jacked to go out for a few hours on their local lake and catch a couple walleyes and have dinner with the family or whatever. And walleyes are hard to catch. They're not always like super hard to find, but they are hard to catch. And not like a lot of walleye fisheries are very good fisheries, if that makes sense. Like a lot of the natural walleye lakes, like Leech, Vermilion, Red Lake, Mille Lacs, all that. A lot of those fisheries are pretty good usually. But a lot of the stocked walleye lakes, sometimes they're good. They can just be hit or miss, you know? Where did he go? He's over there. Kind of in the right zone for him. So just to have like a tool that allows you to catch walleyes where there's not as many of them, I think that's only good for fishing. I think it's good for the resource, you know, in that like people can still have success even when there's not as many walleyes. Now, of course, it's going to mean more walleyes are harvested. So maybe that means regulations have to change. Maybe that means we don't need 6 here in Minnesota anymore. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 3 statewide. You know, the nice thing about 6 is like when walleye fishing is really hard and you can go and harvest 6, like if you have a day that's good enough where you can get 6, you know, it feels nice to be able to have dinner and maybe save a couple for the freezer or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's kind of my abbreviated thought on the issue anyway, but like undoubtedly this is a tool that is effective and helps you catch fish when, you know, otherwise you might have a harder time getting bites. And with that in mind, regulations might have to change. Maybe 20 bluegills is way too many. Maybe 6 walleyes is way too many. I don't know. I like to touch on those topics a little bit, but this may not be the time and place given that we got 9 minutes left on my memory card. So I think I'll make one more cast at some fish. I'm moving up on top of this hump now. Let's see if there's anything up on top. It's probably going to be too deep to have any weeds, I think. But let's see if there's any fish. Let's see if there's any fish. This is actually the perfect kind of spot. You know, if there were fish up on top of here, it'd be the perfect spot to side image. I didn't have enough time on my cameras to spend too much time. Like the last couple spots, I side imaged a little bit before I started moving along there just to see what kind of cover's up there. Sometimes you can see pods of fish. But suspended walleyes are hard to see with side imaging. Often impossible to see. Because if there's a walleye right next to the bottom, right? I mean, you're gonna see him on side imaging. But if it's 3 feet off the bottom, that shadow will be even a little bit further away. But then if you have a walleye that's 15 feet off the bottom in 32 feet of water, that shadow is going to be hundreds and hundreds of feet away, to the point where you would never ever see that on side imaging. You could see the white little grain of rice where the mark is, but you won't see the more obvious shadow. So forward-facing sonar is not a bad technology for just covering water. That doesn't look like a very big mark, unfortunately. So we may have to end it on this cast. But if we can get bit, you won't see me complain about that, even if it's not a huge fish. One more walleye I would take. This might end up being whatever they call it when you build it up and it's just a letdown at the end. Couple more jigs. Looks like this thing got off kilter. Wonder how long it was like that. All right. Okay, well, there's a couple swimming right there, but we're gonna cut this video right here. I'm gonna get home. I'm gonna get to editing this video so you guys can see it ASAP. Get that night crawler off of there. Now there's no returning after that. Okay, we're wrapping this up. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end of this video. I don't know why I clapped when I said that. I wasn't clapping at you, I was just clapping to accentuate what I'm saying. Anyway, so this is the end. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Once again, leave those puppy emojis in there. Come here, Zelda, come here, come here. Here, we need Zelda for the outro. Oh. Leave those puppy emojis, geez, sorry dog. There we go. Leave those puppy emojis for the outro. This is just in case you were gonna ask too, it's a half golden retriever, half, oh my gosh. There's an eagle with a walleye. Okay, half golden retriever, half, what are you? Golden retriever, half yellow lab. So anyway, that's the whole video. If you enjoyed it, you might, let's see, let's put another video up here. How about a bobber fishing video that I just posted like a week ago? I'll put that right there. Basically, I run through everything you need to know to catch walleyes on bobbers. We didn't catch any walleyes on bobbers today, so it kind of doesn't feel right for that to be the video that I'm suggesting, but it's a really good video with a lot of good information, and bobbers work super good. So check it out. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.